Chapter 32. Andrew had been inside for several minutes and had still not returned. Even Kronos, who tried to appear indifferent, was beginning to show signs of impatience. Shera observed him in silence, masking her anxiety as best she could. She was calculating, searching for any possible escape. She had to get out, but not before Andrew returned. She couldn't leave without him. "Dan, go see what's happening," Kronos finally snapped. The Ashari he addressed disappeared into the tunnel's darkness. Minutes passed and still nothing. No trace of him. Shera's suspicions solidified. This was Andrew's doing. She glanced around. Sakura and Craven stood near the large torch on the right, speaking in hushed, urgent tones, their eyes darting toward the tunnel. Another Ashari lingered at the tunnel's mouth, waiting for Kronos' next command. Kronos himself paced in agitation like a caged beast. Eventually he growled, "Go!" and the second Ashari plunged into the tunnel. Only Craven, Sakura, and Kronos remained. Shera evaluated the space between her and the door. If she could reach it, she could seal them in. But Andrew and the Sphinx had to come first. "Kronos, I could—" "No," he cut her off sharply. Several minutes passed, then movement. Only a flicker in the darkness, but enough for her to see it, her eyes locked onto it. The others were too far to notice, but she felt it. It was Andrew. He was climbing up, and he was alone. The others were gone. She stepped nearer the entrance, making sure not to draw attention. Then she saw him. He did it. She backed away carefully. She had to distract them, keep them from noticing. "Why do you need the old bloods?" she asked Kronos, remembering the lingering questions. "Ah, the old bloods!" Kronos exclaimed. "I nearly forgot about them. They knew how to get in." "You needed them for the tunnels? And the body in the park?" "That was my idea," Sakura chimed in. "You were too close. We needed to keep you busy and distract the police." "The idiot dragged you too deep into this," Kronos muttered, glancing towards Craven, who shifted uncomfortably. "It was necessary. So that's why you took the case from me." Andrew was nearly there. She felt it. Shera moved closer to Kronos, ready to act. The sharp cracks of gunfire shattered the silence. Andrew exploded out of the tunnel entrance. Bullets ricocheted off stone as Sakura and Craven immediately ducked behind the tall torch. Andrew rolled behind the marble tomb at the center of the room, his chest heaving, pulse hammering in his ears. The cold stone pressed against his back as he chambered another round and returned fire, forcing them to keep their heads down. Shera didn't wait. She launched herself toward Kronos like a shadow breaking free from the wall. His gun came up, but she was already there. Her shoulder slammed into his chest, knocking him back and sending his weapon clattering across the stone floor. Kronos snarled and retaliated, catching her arm and twisting hard. She grunted in pain but twisted with the motion, bringing her knee up sharply into his side, and they tumbled to the ground in a flurry of limbs and snarled curses. Andrew's gunfire rattled off again as Craven tried to make a break for a better angle. Sakura sprinted from his cover, ducking low, trying to flank Andrew. Kronos saw him move. "I need him alive, you fool!" he roared, and with a speed uncommon even for a vampire, he intercepted him. Sakura barely had time to gasp before Kronos slammed him into the wall with bone-crunching force. His body crumpled, stunned. The distraction was enough. Andrew rolled out from his cover and came up firing. Sakura staggered as the bullets struck him. 1, 2, 3. He dropped with a scream, lifeless. Andrew turned, but Craven was gone. He scanned the room in a panic, but there was no trace of him. Behind him, the brutal fight between Shera and Kronos resumed. They were locked together, clawing, striking, neither giving ground. Kronos slammed her against the wall, and Shera kicked off it with both feet, sending them both sprawling. Andrew raised the gun, tried to find a shot, but they moved too quickly, too erratically. He couldn't risk hitting her. "Shera, take it!" he yelled and flung the gun. Kronos saw it too late. He turned, lunging, but Shera was already moving. Her fingers closed around the grip mid-air. She turned, fired point blank. The shot echoed like thunder. Kronos jerked back, then collapsed, motionless. "To the exit!" Shera shouted. Her voice was hoarse, breathless, but commanding. "Now!" They didn't wait. They ran. Shera's hand found the metal plate on the wall and slammed it. A loud click echoed. Behind them, Kronos stirred. His limbs twitched. His head lifted. He was rising. But the stone door slammed shut between them just in time. No time to rest. They ran. Back through the tunnels beneath the Great Pyramid. No one waited for them. They slipped into the same dark path they had entered hours ago. The blackness was absolute. Andrew stumbled blindly, his breaths ragged and fast. His legs trembled with each step, not just from exhaustion, but from the weight of everything that had just happened. Shera slowed so he could keep pace by the sound of her footsteps. Neither of them spoke. The silence around them, broken only by the echo of their hurried steps, felt like a thin shield against the chaos they had just escaped. They reached the base of the stairs quicker than expected. The hatch above was open. "Craven," Shera murmured. They shared a glance. He might be waiting. "There's only one way," Andrew whispered. Shera nodded and started up the steps. "They're only the two Asharis and the men I saw earlier," she whispered when they neared the top. "How do you know?" Andrew asked. "Never mind," he added when she glanced back. "What about Craven?" "The coward's not here." They emerged slowly. The tent was empty. Two Asharis burst in. They didn't expect resistance. Shera fired. The guards fell. The humans outside didn't move. They ran to the truck. "You drive," Andrew said, jumping in the passenger side. Shera didn't argue. She drove fast, the wheels kicking up sand as they sped away from the hidden tomb. The wind slapped at their faces through the open window, carrying the first cool hints of dawn. By the time they reached the edge of the city, the horizon had begun to glow. The stars faded into a soft peach-coloured sky. Faint traces of morning light stretched across the rooftops, painting the dusty streets in a gentle golden hue. They abandoned the truck in a quiet alley, knowing it might be tracked, and continued on foot. As they entered the outskirts of Cairo, the city slowly began to wake. Vendors were pulling tarps off their stalls. The smell of bread, strong coffee and spices began to drift through the streets. A few children ran past them, laughing, unaware of the two fugitives blending into the growing bustle. Andrew walked in silence, his hands still trembling slightly. Shera walked ahead, silent but alert, her senses trained on every alley, every sound. "You okay?" "You're pale," Andrew asked after some time, his voice quiet. "We need a phone," Shera replied. Her tone was calm, but her hands were clenched. She didn't look at him. Andrew didn't push. He understood. They were both in survival mode, and right now, that was all that mattered. The sun had fully breached the horizon by the time they reached a narrow bazaar. The streets were filling now, full of morning energy and noise. Merchants had begun setting up, laying out baskets of fruit, rolls of fabric, trinkets of glass and brass. The air was alive with shouting, bartering, the rhythmic clang of metal shutters rising. "There," Andrew said, pointing to a phone box at the far end of the square. Shera moved quickly toward it and picked up the receiver. "Got any coins?" Andrew checked his pockets, nothing but a crumpled bill. "I'll try to get change." He moved off toward a vendor but had no luck. The man either didn't understand him or didn't trust him. When he returned, Shera was already on the phone. "Shera, thank God, I was desperate. Where are you?" Daniel's voice. "Egypt. Egypt! What the hell? No time. Can you reach Marius?" "He's here." Shera exhaled in relief. At least one thing was going right. "Give him the phone." "It's me," Marius said. "I need help. We have no money, no documents. We need to get to Brazil. Now." "Brazil?" Andrew repeated, startled. His eyes narrowed slightly. Until now, Shera hadn't mentioned Brazil. Why Brazil? His mind spun. Was this part of her plan all along? Was she keeping something from him? But he didn't interrupt. Not yet. "Who are you with?" Marius asked. "It doesn't matter. Can you help us?" "I'll try. Get to the airport." Shearer hung up. "Where'd you get the money?" Andrew asked. "I borrowed it. Come on." Borrowed. He decided not to press further. Maybe it was better not to know. But his confusion hadn't passed. Why Brazil? "I'm not going. I need to find Carmen." "She'll be safe as long as we have the Sphinx." "We don't—" Shearer stopped in her tracks. "What? There was nothing there." "Are you sure?" "It was an empty room. I looked everywhere. There was nothing." "Then someone took it already." Andrew's jaw clenched. "I have to find Carmen." "Kronos doesn't know we don't have it," she said quickly. "He'll want to make a trade." Andrew hesitated. "What happens when I don't have anything to offer?" "That's why we're going to Brazil," she said, already walking.